Hey there everybody, how's it going? My name is Lane and welcome back to another video here on the channel. So in today's episode, we're doing something just a little bit different and we're actually going to take a look at some of my favorite builds that I personally have done throughout the last couple of years of my Minecraft career. So really, I've only been uploading videos since May of 2023, but I have really been trying to hone my skills as a builder for the last year and a half now. So we're just going to take a look at some of the other worlds. We're going to start with my solely survival world, then we're going to go into the Craftwork server and take a look at some of my builds there. And then once we're done there, we are going to hop into a world that only my stream has really seen before, and that was really early on in my channel. But that world is from before I actually started recording, and there's a lot of builds there that have kind of helped me hone my skills a little bit, and I feel like they should be shown off just a little bit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So first things first, we are here in my solely survival world, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a little weird being back in this world. I haven't really been in this world in the last few months, so it's kind of refreshing to see it, to be completely honest with you. But anyway, so we're here to look at builds, and I honestly think the first build I want to showcase is this one. So this one was meant to house a bamboo farm. I built it right when the 120 update had just released, or a few days before, and I was just kind of waiting on it to update. But anyway, I put this together to kind of house a bamboo farm, but this would actually work really well as a starter house if you wanted to do that. This palette in particular is something that I want to use more of. I really love the look of the sandstone textured in with some of the other rougher looking sandstone. I forget the name of that block now that I'm thinking about it, but anyway, yeah, so it's also got the stripped spruce logs around the trim and dark oak around the trim of the roof, along with a deep slate roof, and then there's a massive chimney up here as well. I don't know that I was quite happy with the size of the chimney itself. I feel like for the build it might have worked better to be just a little bit smaller, but I do quite like it as it is. And I also like how overgrown it looks. It makes it look, well, I guess a little less lived in, or more lived in. I don't know what I'm looking for here, but it makes it look a little more overgrown and I like it. I also added in just a little bit of a pond out here. I'm not the greatest with ponds, but I did do this. I think a pond adds just a lot to the area, a lot to the world. And one of my favorite exterior detailing tips is, well, adding in these composters with the leaves on top. Just having little flower pots and stuff like that scattered throughout just makes a very big difference, I think, and it adds quite a bit of depth. And then another tip that I really like is having the stairs up there at the top and at the bottom of your windowsills to just kind of make it look, well, like it has a little bit more depth to it. And then also one other thing that I really like doing is I add in these little overhangs inside of the outer edge of the roof, and it kind of adds a little bit more of a curve in there, and it adds just a little bit more depth to it as well, which is something that I personally really love. And I don't really think there's anything special happening around the back. It is just a little bit bland, but that's okay. I also added in a little bit of a pathway leading back over to the actual well, not spawn area, but the actual village area itself. And I'm actually really happy with the interior that I put inside of here. Those of you who've been watching me for a while, you know that I don't really care to do interiors. I've never been a big fan of doing them. Like, I mean, I think they look great, but I personally suck at doing them, so it is what it is. But I started with a little bit of a kitchen area in here. Oh, and you can hear the bamboo farm going on up there. Anyway, so I added in this little bit of a kitchen area here. This makes it look like there's a stove and an oven there. And then there's just a little bit of a countertop with a sink and then a refrigerator and some storage up there. And I mean, this is pretty basic. Pretty much anybody with any kind of interior skills could come up with something like this, but it kind of fits the area and I quite like it. Oh, another thing that I just noticed is the use of the jungle wood as the floors. One thing that I personally love doing is making sure that the floors and the ceiling look a little bit different. Typically, I wouldn't let the ceiling be the same well, color as the walls itself, but because there is an upper balcony right here, I kind of had to go with it because that's connected to the exterior up top. But anyway, yeah, the use of the jungle against this, it actually looks really good. I think it complements it really, really well. And then here is where I went a little crazy with the detailing. I did a lot with greenery. There happens to just be a bunch of plants around, and then I really love this pattern that I used down here for the rug here in the I guess this is a hallway. I don't know what this is. And then over here is like the master bedroom. It's got some storage and stuff like that in it. Some bookshelves for a little bit more color as well. And then over here, there are just a couple of bedrooms with some tables and some beds and a little bit more greenery and things like that. And I really like it. I also opted to use some of the darker glass panes around, you know, the outside for the windows to kind of just add a little bit more of a contrast to the build itself, because when you come out here, there's not just a whole lot of darkness to it other than the roof, really. So I think that kind of helps break up the walls just a little bit and adds a little bit more contrast to it, and I quite like it. Anyway, that's enough with this build. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. The next build here in the Solely Survival world is actually, well, not really this one. It's supposed to be that one back there, but this one here needs to get an honorable mention as well because, well, first of all, this was my very first time using a bamboo. This was literally the episode where 120 had come out in my Solely Survival world, and this was supposed to be like a little bit of a fishing hut. And now that I'm looking back at this, I really like this build. The bamboo against the spruce and the deep slate looks really nice. And then around the edges here, I've also added in a bunch of flower pots and using dark oak to add just a little bit of variation to the wood types. And all in all, it looks really great. The interior, there's not really much happening. I always play with the mob head pack, so I do have these scattered throughout the world, and that's an armor stand right here. That's another resource pack that I use. You don't really have to worry too much about that. Not a resource pack, it's like a mod or something. Anyway, yeah, so this is pretty basic. I'm not really going to talk too much on this one, but the actual build that we want to be looking at is over here. It is this one right here, and this was to hide a little bit of a mud farm that is down underground there. I think this looks really good. So this was my first time actually using dirt inside of a build. I never thought that I would see the day where I was building with dirt, but it works really well. Especially in this color palette with the mud and the spruce and everything. It does have a lot of the same kind of tone throughout the building, but there's enough variation here that I actually think it's quite nice. And then having the campfires as a little bit of a covering for the door, I think also adds a little bit more depth. And, well, I mean, it's not really adding too much color, but it does kind of change a little bit from the other tones that are happening around here. Along with a little bit of a fireplace that's up there. That one, it's also similar in tones, but it's enough of a difference that it does stand out, and I quite like it. Again, the backside doesn't really have anything to it, and the field around it, well, that kind of brings it out a little bit, and it adds a little bit more detail. There is no interior in this whatsoever, except for the mud farm that is down here. But yeah, so this is in fact one of my favorite builds, not simply because of well, how big it is, obviously, because that is relatively small, but it is one of my favorite builds because this is a palette that I don't use very often. And I mean, let's face it, how often do you see dirt be used in a build like this? It's not very often at all, or at least not for me it isn't. But yeah, so this build in general looks great. It has enough shape to it. I mean, it's got these curves and stuff, which I think really brings out the build. If it was all just super straight, it would be a little too bland. Yeah, so I think that's just about it over here. Let's get on with the next one. So the next build that is in my Solely Survival world actually happens to be kind of a collective of buildings, and if you've well, if you followed the channel for a while, then you know exactly what this is. Also, honorable mention to Dave there in the background, which was made with E when she joined this world for an episode. But anyway, so this here is the city that I was working on for pretty much forever in my survival world. I am still super happy with this world, and now that months have passed and I have not really looked at this world, I'm feeling a little bit inspired again. So Who knows? Maybe the survival series will come again soon. Who knows? Basically, all around here, I've just got a bunch of random houses and buildings. There's not really anything too special about any of the interiors, but they look great. So let's start with the outside of this. I put in a little bit of a boat out here just to kind of, well, add to the area, I guess. Oh, I'm missing a trapdoor right there. I don't think I'm supposed to be missing that. Whoops. Anyway, so I've got these defensive towers here that are spread all the way around, and I mean there's a lot of them. That took forever to build. And then there are these houses, which again is using a palette that I'm not really used to using, with it being the white concrete and the diorite and the deep slate and spruce. I mean, deep slate and spruce is something that I use a lot of. The diorite, not so much, because I mean, let's face it, that typically looks like bird poop. But yes, so I do quite like some of the builds out here, but this one over here, the bee shop that I put in, this is probably my favorite build that I have done. I love this roof design that I did here. I really textured it with the pumpkins, the honeycombs, and then a bunch of yellow concrete. And well, I really love this. And there's so much shape in the roof and in everything else that is down here, and I can't help but love it. And as you can see over here, I also mirrored that with the moss farm that is hidden underneath there. But over here, I've also got a really cool interior. I've got some of these bee heads scattered around throughout here. And we've also got Buzz, who runs the store. And then there's the bee farm downstairs, which is not decorated in the slightest. The floor is also textured with not only just the cobble deep slate, but with some of the regular deep slate as well, to add a little bit of variation in the floor and to add just a little bit more of texturing, I guess, which is super cool. And again, I just kind of mirrored this same thing over here with the moss building, and I actually quite like that, but this one over here is kind of my favorite. So yeah, I don't know, you guys tell me which one you like better, the moss one or the bee farm one. And then over here, I also added in a little bit of like a break area and just another little house and stuff here. And basically all of the town's mining people, they go down here to go mining and whatever. And then added in just a little market stall here with another armor stand, which is from the mod that I tend to run in my worlds as well. And yeah, so this city has taken me quite a while to put together. Yeah, I don't really know how long it took me, but this basically made up half of my series, which, I mean, the series did end a little short, but we're not really gonna talk about that too much. So now we're done over here, and I can show off this area up here, which is the little market area that I put together. And it's got a bunch of variations of different market stalls, and they all have different colors for the wool to kind of insinuate what different items they're selling. And I quite like them using the granite and the barrels and stuff like that, and then using these item frames to show off what items they're selling and what items they kind of have and stuff like that. I basically just put in a bunch of the wandering trader ones throughout all of these, but that is also because the armor stand doesn't work with every type of villager, which is kind of weird to me, I guess. And also the use of these micro blocks, in my opinion, just brings so much life to the area as well. I actually recommend that to a lot of you who are playing on Java Edition and can add that into your world. But yeah, that's enough with this area. Let's go ahead and head on over to the next build in this world. And that leads me to the final area here in the Solely Survival world that I actually want to show off. And that is back here. Now this is some of the latest stuff that I had added to the series before it came to an end. If you followed along in the series, then you just know how much terraforming went into all of this. And I mean, let me just free cam out here and show you what I mean. This area did not look anything like this in terms of landscape. All of this is custom terraforming work by yours truly, and let me tell you, it took absolute ages to do. I mean, it basically made up an episode on its own. So I wanted to add in this little dock area, and I think I did really good with that, to be completely honest with you. I think the texturing that I used for the outer walls here just looks great with the tuff and the stone bricks, as well as adding in the little bit of a walkway with the spruce and all that going all the way around. And the field itself, I cannot get over how the field itself actually looks. Here, let me turn on shaders so you can see what I mean. This is how it looks with shaders on, and I cannot get enough of this area with that. I think this just looks absolutely amazing, especially with the boat out here in the water. I mean, that looks so cool. I typically don't play with shaders just because of the frame drops and stuff like that. But with them on, this area looked so great, and I could not get over it. I sat here for at least half an hour just staring at it whenever I finished it. But enough rambling about the field itself. Let's go take a look over here at the boat. Now the boat, this is something that I had really no experience with doing prior to actually making this boat. I had made little boats like the one you've seen earlier, but I have not actually made anything like this up until now. I'm really, really proud of how this turned out. So you can see that I used the red terracotta, I used stripped spruce and dark oak, and then regular oak, and that added in a lot of different colors throughout here. And then I added in the anvils in here to kind of look like cannons, which is really, really cool. I used the spruce fences as, I think, masts are what they are called. I'm not very good with boat terminology. For those of you who know about it, don't get mad. And then the sails, I used the mushroom stems along with some of the quartz down the bottom to kind of just make it look like a rolled up flag, I guess. And I think that looks really, really cool. And there's not really much else to it, but I'm still super proud of this build. It's still one of my favorites. I also added in a bit of storage area down here, and just kind of left it blank just for that. There was a bit of an interior planned for this area up here. I just never got around to doing it. And yeah, all in all, I quite love this area, and I missed something there. Whoops, we're not going to talk about that. And my ender chest, I wondered where that went for a while. Anyway, yeah, all in all, I really love how this turned out. Again, I had never really built boats like this before, but yeah, I spent a lot of time in a creative test world trying to figure out how to make this happen, and I am quite happy that I did, because just wow is all I have to say about that. So I think that is basically the it of it here in the Solely Survival world. So now we are going to check out some builds over on the Craftworks SMP. And here we are back in the Craftworks SMP, and we're going to take a look at some of the builds over here. Now, I haven't really done just a whole lot of building in this season. I have basically started the Nether Hub, which we will take a look at here in a minute, and I've basically done my starter base here. I haven't really built too many actual like good-looking structures and buildings and things like that. So we're just going to take a look at a couple of things and get back out of this world for a little bit. So we're going to start at well, my starter base. And I know what you're thinking, Lane, this is not a starter base, but trust me, I went a little overboard. I got a little eager, and I had to make this. So this is basically it. Yeah, this is SS Lucky, and let me tell you, I absolutely love this build. This did use a reference image online, but I changed up a lot of stuff and kind of lanified it to fit my own kind of taste, I guess, and I quite like it. And yeah, so again, I know we just looked at a boat a second ago. I know I said that I'm not really great at boats, and well, that boat and this one might say otherwise, but again, I quite like how this turned out. And yeah, so basically the center here is just a wheel, and these back here are wheels, and they will be dropped into the water to kind of make the boat sail away and things like that. And then I added these little notches off the side here for people to get on and off of the boat. The ladders and trapdoors here were not actually meant to be there, but it's kind of what happened because I needed a way up and down my own starter boat. And then up here, as you can see, there's a ton of copper. This is supposed to be a steamboat, and this is supposed to be where the steam would come out of the boat. This here is the mechanism that would raise those wheels, and making the boat either stay or go respectively. And yeah, so there's really not much else to show about it, but I absolutely love this base. This has got to be one of my favorite designs that I have ever done. and I'm thrilled with it. And then, not to mention, is some of the other members of the server took reins of my interior because, again, interiors are no bueno fileno. And ignoring the Oda head over here, we've got a cafeteria that was made for me by Millie. And then downstairs, we have got another thing that was made by Empress Littlebit, who you guys have probably seen a lot of on this channel by now. And she made this casino room inside of my steamboat, and it looks really, really good with the roulette tables and the slot machines. And then she added in a pool table here, like a little bar area type thing, and just a bunch of seating. Oh, whoops. And yeah, I quite like it. And then out here, she also added in a hot tub and just a little bit of like a table out here. There's one other thing I meant to show while I was up top. I'm going to run back up there real quick. All right, and that is this control room that Millie put together for me. So I knew she had plans for this area, but I didn't realize this was what she was going to do, and I must say that I am not disappointed at all with it. I really, really love what she did with it. It makes it look like there's just a bunch of controls and everything else around here that a captain would need. And this is here to look more like a more like the steering wheel of the boat. Here on the server, we have a mod that makes it to where we can hide the item frames, and that actually played a really big part in that. And yeah, I really love this. Now, I know that I said my builds, but I had to show off the interiors because they did such a great job with that. And that's basically it for this build. Now we are going to go and take a look at the Nether Hub. And we are in the Nether Hub now, and let me just tell you real quick that this is not finished yet. This has got a ton more work to go. This is a very, very, very big project that, well, I kind of signed up for. I said that I was going to start it, and then I did, and didn't realize how big this was actually going to be until I got started. But anyway, so this is the Nether Hub, and as you can see, I've got shaders on for this because just wow, look at this. And I really love the reflective glass here with the shaders on. This just brings so much life to the area as well, especially with the lights coming through and everything. But without shaders on, this is how it looks. With full bright on, full bright off, this is how it looks. I typically play with this on just so I can see a little bit better and so you guys can see better. But I do need to make a disclaimer that this was all not just myself as well. Millie helped out with the walls, and she helped out with the tunnel design. She initially came up with the design for that one, and I basically copied it over here for this one, and I will explain that in just a minute. E also helped me make this stuff here, or well, she basically made this. I was just kind of there, but she put this together. So down each individual hallway, I've got them labeled with what direction it is facing, so north, east, southwest, and all that. And in each direction, if they happen to have a different block palettes going, down each direction to kind of signify what area is which. So E added in these different colors to kind of match that, and it kind of matches on each side as it should. And then Millie went ahead and added in the hallway over here. This is the first one she added in, and she used the skulk, basalt, and deep slate, and black stone. And there's also a bunch of copper that's mixed in with this. And just look at this. This looks so cool. It's just absolutely breathtaking, to be honest with you. I honestly play on this server with some of the most talented people in the world. Let me tell you, I am so thrilled to be here. And then over here, I actually added in this area as well. Again, it matches the direction that we are facing, and it has basically a matching color scheme going throughout. It uses the same thing that Millie used over there, just instead of the warp stuff and the aged copper, we have the normal copper with the acacia stuff to kind of blend in this area. And honestly, I thought the green here would kind of well, I thought it kind of wouldn't look great with that. I thought it would clash, but instead this actually looks really, really cool. We have yet to actually add in the part over here with the crimson and the part over that side with all of the bamboo stuff and the gold. I actually need to go and get a bunch more gold so I can get that one started, but that's a project for SMP lane. That's not a project for, well, this lane. So, yeah, that is basically it here, aside from the towers here, and I honestly really love how these towers come out. I think that just adds a little bit more shape and depth to the room as well, and it's so nice. Now, these inner parts right here, these are supposed to be glassy fog floors, but I just have not had the energy to do that yet. That's going to be a very big project, and I've been procrastinating it, and yeah, so this is going to take a lot. I mean, just one layer of this takes like 9 stacks of glass. Yeah, it's going to be a very big project. Actually, one layer of glass across this is about 9 stacks, which is just ridiculous. And in these inner areas, I still have no idea what to do on that. I'm kind of hoping that another crafter will come up with an idea for that, because I am really blanking on it. But that'll be something that, you know, Craftworks SMP lane has to deal with. Not currently my problem for today. So now I think that just about does it for the Craftworks server. Let's go check out the world from before I actually started recording, just to get a few little honorable mentions in there. And now we are in one of my old worlds, and I have got to say, it feels very, very weird being back in this world. I have not touched this world in a very long time. But as you can see here, there's not really a lot happening throughout here. Basically, that was my starter house, and then I added in just a couple of random houses over here for really no apparent reason. There's an iron farm sitting in the middle of the entire area, and over here I added in a little bit of a raised pathway area. I don't even know what to call that. And then a couple of the old windmills, which you guys have probably seen this design in the survival world currently. And this is basically the first iteration of that, as well as the villager tunnel, which is down there. But the villager tunnel I didn't really show off. But anyway, the build that I want to look at is that one up there. Now, this one up there is not really an original build. This was also inspired by a build I seen online, but this honestly looked really, really cool, and this was probably at the time one of the largest builds I think I had ever actually done, and I was super, super thrilled with how it turned out. And there's not really much of an interior in here. I did add in some little candelabras, I guess, with the lightning rod and some of the candles. And apparently an Enderman had been in here. And then since I use the micro blocks, I used some of the bone blocks on top of some of the end rods to make it look more like a modern lamp. And then down here, there's not really anything either. There's not really a whole lot going on. That really is not all that detailed, but the actual style of the build itself is really cool, and something that at the time I had never done before, and that was also the first time I had ever actually used copper, so that was really cool as well. And the other build that I wanted to show off is actually out right below me. It is right in here. So this was the first iteration of that boat that was shown earlier on, and yeah, this is where I started that design and where I used it. And well, the reason I'm down here is for that build here, and the chest monster is not included. Not really sure why this is still in the way. I guess I just got lazy and never cleaned it up. But yeah, so this was supposed to be like a little bit of a well, I don't know. I actually don't know what it's called, but it's like a building inside of a wall, and this is basically hiding a bit of a lead farm that is just right down there. Not really gonna go down there, it's not decorated. And up here I added in just a little bit of a bedroom. There's nothing really special about it, but this is the first time I ever actually built inside of a wall like this, and I mean, at least to the extent of doing something. Can I get out of the water, please? Doing something like that. This is Not something I typically do. Like, usually when you see people build inside of a wall, they just make like a little bit of a hole and that's it. But this all in all actually looked really, really cool. This was the first time I'd ever actually used the white concrete and the diorite palette together, and that was super cool. And I really wanted to build more in this style. I just never got around to it. I actually envisioned this whole area being covered in that sort of thing, or at least all of this right in here. But I just never got around to doing it. I don't really remember how much time I spent in this world, but it wasn't as much as I put into the survival series that started this channel. But yeah, this is one of the first things that I wanted to show off, as well as that build up there. There's actually one other build in this world that I want to show off, because again, there's not really much here, but it's also a collection of builds, and it's actually something that I am super proud of and wish I'd gotten around to finish, so I will see you guys over there in just a second. Alright, now I'm over in the area with all the builds that I wanted to showcase. No, it's not that taiga village that is back there. It is actually this little handmade village that I put together out here. This was my first attempt at actually making a city, and this was my first attempt at diagonal building, which is something that I have never really done before this actually, and this was a lot of great experience. For those of you watching this, if you've never tried building diagonally, you really should at least give it a go. And if you want some tips on how to build diagonally, let me know and I might make a video on that. It's not very easy, might get a little confusing, not gonna lie, but it would be something that I would be interested in showing you guys, so just let me know on that. But yeah, so initially I started this little area over here. I terraformed a little pathway and made a little bit of a pond over here. Or, well, I didn't really make that pond, I just kind of terraformed around it. And I put in this custom tree that is right here. And yeah, it's not a big tree, it's just something to kind of fill the area. And over here is the actual village itself. So I used the terracotta and the granite combination along with some quartz and some deep slate. Yeah, I really like how all of these buildings turned out. I don't recall getting time to do interiors in any of these. Yeah, I didn't really do anything with any of them. And I really didn't actually finish the village. There were more builds planned for back here. Like this was just going to be another building, another building, another building, and this one here was going to be like maybe a church or something, I don't know. And then I was planning a dock area right on out here that kind of wrapped around this area. There's a little bit of a fishing hut here that was supposed to have a little bit of a fishing dock wrapping around it, which I never got around to doing. Yeah, so I just basically added in a bunch of these houses like this, just random houses. There was going to be a tourist office right here, and then this was going to be a little bit of a restaurant right here, and again another Enderman was inside of there. And then there was going to be a couple of hotels spread throughout here, a couple of other houses and everything. One of the tricks to bringing these kind of areas to life is, well, for one, making a bit more of a modern-esque pathway. And by modern-esque, I don't mean like a well, a pathway that is made like this. I mean more like the stones and stuff like that. It adds a little bit of contrast to all the green that's out here, and it looks great, especially when it's up against these other plants, and a little bit of greenery that you use against the building to add in a little bit of color with it as well. With these kind of palettes, you really want to add color with as much greenery as you can, and maybe some of these flowers. And so yeah, you want to add in as much of the greenery and stuff as you can, as many of the flowers as you can, without just overdoing it. And yeah, it was really interesting to see how some of these buildings shaped out. And some of these diagonal buildings I am particularly proud of, because I, again, had never built in this style, but it turned out so nice. And there's so much depth and detail to it that I can't help but love it. And again, you see one of the tactics that I usually use whenever I am customizing my own builds, and that is using wool to kind of make different, I guess, layers for different buildings. The yellow is indicating the pathway, the orange is little branches off of the main pathway, and the red being the buildings. And yeah, so that's basically all there is out here. Again, this sort of thing is just what I really wanted to showcase, because I was super proud of this at the time, and I'm looking back at it and I am still super proud of it. But with all the other series that I have going on at the moment, I don't really have time to just play in this world and not worry about recording. So maybe one of these days I'll come back to it, but for now it's not really something I'm worried with. Yeah, I think that just about does it over here. And I think that just about does it for today's video as well. I hope that this video has in some shape, form, or fashion inspired you in some way and maybe give you some kind of ideas for builds that you can add into your own worlds or anything like that. And if there are any sort of build tips that you guys want to see or any ideas that you have for me, just let me know and I will do my best to see about making a video on that, as I want to give you guys some tips as well. And yeah, I think that just about does it. My name is Lane and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye everybody.